Hi Capricorn, welcome to your June 2016 love reading. It's Rena here. So I am shuffling the cards and as I speak, and I'm doing your reading over again, and I'm doing Taurus's because I did not have the video running at the time, and I was going to just do it regardless, and I just feel like doing it over again just because it'll be fresh, you know, not just take that recording. Plus, I don't really like the audio on it anyhow, so I just figure I'll do the whole thing over again. So we're going to put it like that, so you know I am picking random cards here. Okay. And I'll hold them up because you can't see. Still getting this angle stuff together with the you know, it's funny, I have the what do you call it, the lens viewer or whatever you call it, open, and it still doesn't show how wide it is until I look at it on the computer, so it's hard to gauge exactly what's in frame or not. There's more in frame than I think there is. Okay, I'm going to put this to the side because that's the last card. Okay, so the energy surrounding you in the month of June is the Seven of Swords. This is the Morgan Greer deck, by the way. And the Seven of Swords is an energy that can be interpreted different ways. One of them can indicate that somebody is doing something to someone behind their back. It's associated with stealing, but it can also be somebody who is, I think it's anybody doing something on the down low. So I do associate it with cheating in some instances. But it can simply mean being more discreet about one's life. Now, on the positive side, if you are someone, let's say, who is involved in a difficult relationship that you want to get out of, and you know that you can't just up and leave, maybe you're getting all your ducks lined up in a row. And this is sometimes a very helpful thing to do rather than just leave abruptly. So that's always a possibility as well. Now, remember that these are general readings, but also keep in mind that I'm, you know, really directing my readings towards people who are looking for love altogether, or for people who are in relationships where they're experiencing difficulties. So this isn't for people that are in a happy relationship. I wouldn't expect them to be watching in that case. And if you are single, and the Seven of Swords could indicate perhaps that somebody who is an air sign, a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarian, is coming into the picture, or that you too have to watch out for these types of people, you coming in contact with them. Capricorn, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Some signs, I think, are more vulnerable to being used, and I think Capricorn, ironically, is one of them, because typically Capricorn is a very frugal sign. It's not the sign to go and blow a whole wad of money in one place, but I think the Achilles heel of Capricorn can be in the relationship sector, because, you know, Capricorns tend to like to project themselves as invulnerable. And yet, you know, they're human beings, or you're human beings. And in the relationship sector, that might be the one area that you feel free to kind of let down your hair. But then that earth sign part of you still feels like you have to pay to play. And you might think, well, you know, that's just par for the course. And it doesn't have to be a man with, you know, whining and dying a woman. And it could be a woman Capricorn, female Capricorn, who thinks that she has to pay for her lovers, you know, to keep her partner happy. That's part of it. And by the way, do not confuse this with being generous. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where it's kind of uneven, but it's uneven in a way that's even beyond that, because there is calculation on the other person's part. In other words, the other person is using you for money, not just that you happen to be generous and you don't mind sharing what you have with the other person. That's not what I'm talking about, because even if the other person does not contribute 50% to a relationship, that does not mean that the relationship is a bad one at all. I never have felt that way. But in some cases, the other person is being calculating, and they are looking for that payout. They're looking for it because that's what they want, but they're not really into the relationship. Now, in the recent past, I got the Two of Pentacles. So perhaps you had to make some sort of choice. It could have had to do with a person that was an earth sign. Maybe you were embroiled in a scenario with a third party. Oh, I didn't even think about this. Maybe you're that Seven of Swords. Maybe you're the one that's being a little bit sneaky and going out behind the scenes. That's always a possibility. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So the Two of Pentacles can indicate that somehow a job was involved in all of this. Perhaps you had to travel. Maybe you had an affair while you were on a business trip. Or maybe you had to relocate for your company, and this is where you met a new person, even though you were connected with a prior relationship. Or this may have happened to your partner, and this is what they did, and this is what caused there to be some sort of infidelity. For those of you who are single, this card may indicate that you recently did take a new position somewhere else, and maybe you have been quite subdued and not broadcasting your activities because you had to get away from a prior relationship where the person was obsessive. I mean, that's always a possibility, because the Seven of Swords can just indicate that you are being rather discreet about your behavior, your activities at the moment. It doesn't necessarily mean that cheating is happening. The higher perspective, or the message from the universe, is the World card. So this is a card that has to do with ending a cycle. It's a major arcana card, and it's the number 21. So this is the last card in the major arcana, and it's a wrapping up. And so it's all about, you passing the test and you completing something successfully in the upright position. So even if you have left a relationship, if you look at life in terms of learning experiences, possibly ones that we set up for ourselves before we even came here, then you can really feel, even when something ends less than positively, that it was here to serve your expansion. And you can frame it in a way that allows you to see it as ultimately good. And so there's definitely a feeling that whatever transpired, and it may have to do also with your career, this may all factor in, that it served a purpose, and you should look at it as something that ultimately was for your highest good. And I think if you're single, that this card can indicate that, you know, you are going to embark upon a whole new period where, you know, you will probably be able to attract to you a more viable relationship. And this is something, you know, when we look at life, it is cyclical. You know, we go through different periods, and that's fine. You know, that's how life works. And sometimes when you're closing one chapter, it's always good to reflect on the things that you have gotten clarity about in terms of how life works, because then you can apply it to any situation in the future, and it will be for your benefit. I mean, we all know people who keep making the same mistakes over and over again, and this is because they do not reflect. They tend to just act, and sometimes they don't even think before they act, or they don't have this sense of organization of what they intend to do. Now, I do feel that Capricorns, you tend to have a clarity of purpose, and you tend to be people who are very oriented towards productive behavior. So that's something that you have in your favor. So the energy that may be behind the scenes at this time is the Eight of Wands. And so something may come in for you very quickly, and perhaps you will not connect it to your love life. Maybe it's all part of the plan, and maybe it will have to do with your career. A lot of times the wands relate to career matters. It can also just relate to creative endeavors. You know, it can be just receiving some good news, but there is like the sense of urgency around it. Because this is more of a hidden influence, it may be something that is developing for somebody else that you're connected to. And it may impact the type of relationship you can have with them. I mean, a perfect example would be if somebody that you're seeing gets a job offer. And the Eight of Wands can indicate travel. And this person may be dreading telling you because they know you're going to be upset. So they've been packing, they've been planning, and they're going to tell you at the last minute. Now, I'm just using that as an example. But there may be something that, you know, is really kind of advancing that you're unaware of. But I will say, this is in the upright position, and I think that overall it's going to be very beneficial, if not a little bit hectic when you find out about it, because you may have to make sudden decisions based upon it. And a perfect example is having to move on a moment's notice. And you have to be prepared, but anytime that you can do that is a time when you have the flexibility and sense of faith that, you know, it's going to be a good situation for you, an improvement in your life. I think that you will see it unfold in a very positive way. And so the energy to take advantage of during this time is the energy represented by the Nine of Swords. Now this, that's the energy of insomnia. And so in terms of taking advantage of that, I would say if you have been experiencing a surge or an uptick of some degree of insomnia, then it's good to look at that. I wouldn't be surprised because you have been experiencing you know, Saturn in your 12th house in the sign of Sagittarius, currently in retrograde. But when Saturn is in the 12th house, it can really cause just the sort of things that this Nine of Swords represents. Obviously, anytime we experience anxiety, it's no different than physical symptoms in the sense that there is something that needs to be purged. Toxic thoughts, toxic, attitudes about certain things in life. When we can purge those things, then we can be free of the oppression that this card represents, the anxiety, and we're able to move forward with our lives. Because when you have a lot of these negative thoughts, the swords relate to thought. So these are about having negative thoughts. When you have a lot of those, what happens is that it generates the anxiety, and the anxiety is really illusory. It's really not real in and of itself. But thoughts tend to beget more thoughts, and depending on whether they're positive or negative, it just creates more of the same. So that's something that you will have to really look at in order to be able to move ahead and attract love into your life. The advice is the Four of Cups. And this card has always been connected to a rather blasé attitude towards life, of somebody who is not really feeling whatever's happening. If you notice with this card that the person is being offered this one golden chalice and they're not interested, it's kind of like that Nine of Swords in a way, the prior card. Pay attention to your feelings and pay attention to your thoughts. The Four of Cups is about feelings. And you want to be paying attention to the things that really move you, that get you excited. This card is about not feeling it, not feeling excited, feeling kind of like nothing is measuring up, and just this dullness of spirit. So perhaps this period of time is a time when you're going to have to really reflect more than anything else on what it is that you are looking for in a relationship, but also what it is that you are giving to the other person as well. Are you being all that you can be for the other person? Are you being a positive person? Are you seeing the chalice half full, or is it half empty? I did want to say also that Mars is likewise in Sagittarius, in addition to Saturn, so it's in that 12th house as well. And on June 29th, it will go direct. And it is possible, I think that Nine of Swords may also be reflecting the fact that Mars is in retrograde for most of the month in the 12th house. When Mars is in the 12th house altogether, there is a feeling of antsiness. There's a feeling of not really being able to express your energy or expend your energy in a direct way. The 12th house deals with woo issues. It deals with, spirituality, past lives, yada, yada. And it's not a concrete energy. It's not something that you can just, wrap your brain around. It's very diffused. It's very nebulous. And, Mars is the god of war, but it's a planet of action. And when Mars is in the 12th house, it feels like it's being kept down under wraps. And so I feel like yoga is very good for this sort of a transit, because it really kind of relieves the stress and the areas that affects. It can actually affect your energetic body, and that is like your subtle system. That's not like your physical organs, but when you kind of unblock those chakras, the subtle system, that can help to have a free-flowing energy throughout throughout your body, or your subtle body, that you're not feeling a sense of blockage or overactivity in one area or underactivity in one area. Now, interestingly, the outcome is the Moon card, and this card is directly associated with spirituality. But the Moon card also can be a little bit of a mystery, and it might mean that things are still not fully revealed. Perhaps this card represents that something will be revealed at the time of the full moon. So the full moon in June is on the summer solstice on June 20th, and that is going to be at 29 degrees of Sagittarius. So there's that more of that 12th house activity. Perhaps all of this is connected to the 12th house, and this is why this particular reading may not seem very concrete, because maybe in June for you, Capricorn, you're going to be possibly doing a lot of reflecting instead of direct action. And whether or not you actually have, an eventful romantic time in June, I can't say for sure. I think more like during the sign of Cancer, which will be at the end of June and going, well into July, that maybe you will see more of that happen, because your 7th house is Cancer, and that's your committed partnership sector, your marriage sector. So that may be a time when you see more stimulation, more triggers to your 7th house, and you're even going to have a full moon situation happening, which means that the sun and moon are opposing one another when there's a full moon in Capricorn in July, and that means that the 7th house will be activated because the sun will be exactly opposing it. And that's actually, I think, on July 19th. That's kind of a preview of July, but maybe in June there's going to be a lot of time for you to think about exactly what you want to attract into your reality romantically. Okay, Capricorn, on that note, I will leave it there. If you would like a private reading with me, please click on the link below. Otherwise, I hope you have a very wonderful June. Bye.